are so excited to be back in the studio, and we have a really awesome project for you today that we are going to be exploring some different techniques. Josie, what are we going to be doing?
We are going to be making a pavo wall panel for your artistic gallery or wall use. And we are going to do a little deep dive on a technique called masking. And that allows you so much creative freedom, and so it's just a really good technique to have in your toolbox. So we're going to do that, as well as some fun artistic brushwork techniques. So we're going to create this, and you're going to get some great techniques in your toolbox. Okay guys, so we have a surface that we're going to be starting with, and we have this coated, probably 2 coats of a nice matte chalk style paint in a off-white color. We're going to do that, let it dry, make sure it's thoroughly dried, and then we're going to get right in with our stamping. Now, if you've watched many of our stamping videos, then you know that we talk about seasoning your stamps. And that just means giving it, before you remove them from the sheet, before you use them the first time and only one time, you use a fine to medium sanding block and go in 2 directions. And what that does is it gives it a little bit of tooth for your mediums to sit nicer. And then for cleanup, we like to keep wet wipes around, so that makes it a real easy tidy them up, so that later you can get to them and wash them, always with just mild soapy water. We don't use like anything harsh on them.
No.
So we'll get started. Okay guys, we have a 16 by 22 surface here. We used a 1/4 inch smooth plywood, softened the edges with some sandpaper, but you could use any material that you would like to, but it's 16 by 22 for the purpose of this design and this project. We coated it with 2 coats of a soft white mineral type paint, let that dry thoroughly, and we're ready to get stamping.
Ready to roll.
Ready to roll. So Sally, talk a little bit about seasoning your stamps. When you first get them and you open them, before you take anything off the sheet or cut anything apart, you want to give them that tooth.
One time is all it takes. When you first get your stamp, you want a fine grit sandpaper. You're going to sand the surface lightly, and that is the design surface, the surface that you're going down with. You're going to lightly sand that one direction and then the other direction, and then they're good to go. You can use them over and over. If you want more instruction on that, you can go to our website under Product 101.
Yes, exactly. Because this is what it looks like on the sheet before you take it off when you're going to season it. So.
Yes.
Okay, so we have our IOD ink here. You can use a black or brown. We have a brown that we mixed up.
And these inks are awesome for furniture and fabric, and they come in several different colors, so check out our website for that.
Yes. We are going to pat the ink right onto your stamp. Make sure that you are getting it nice and juicy, especially because this is a very thirsty surface, because it's that mineral paint that we love so much.
It will drink in the ink.
Yes, so you want to get it nice and thorough and juicy. Then we are going to turn it over and hover to position where you want it. We're going to go right about here, and then you are going to be careful not to shift. You're going to lay it down, and with one hand hold it in place, and with your other hand use it to move around and make sure that you are getting good contact all over. The biggest
sorry, go ahead.
thing you want to practice is not shifting the stamp on your surface.
That's what I was going to say.
Beat you to it.
I was going to tell them why. It's because when you shift, you get a halo effect, and it looks really awkward. So, and that just takes practice. We recommend just getting a board similar to this and have it painted and get your stamps out and just go crazy and try stamping on different surfaces as well, because every surface is going to be a little bit different. This one is not going to shift as easily, but you might be stamping on a slicker surface, which will. So getting used to those different surfaces is handy.
Exactly, and you might want to start off on something that's not slidey or slick, because everything takes practice. It's all about the reps. People in athletics will tell you it's all about the reps. Doing it well, repeating to get that practice.
All of the fine detail of this stamp. That's one thing I really love about our stamps, and using stamps as opposed to other mediums like stencils, which have their purpose. But one thing that you get with the stamps that you can't get with any other product is the amount of detail and continuous detail without broken spots.
I'm gonna see if I can just quickly take
that's risky.
Oh.
Okay, you did it.
She did it. Okay. So now we're going to create a mask. And like we said before, masking is going to be a tool that you just love.
It's a go-to skill with stamping.
Exactly. And when you cut them out, and you'll see as we do it, save them. You can do it one time and save them in an envelope. So I'm not even going to re-ink this. There's enough ink on it to go ahead and just set it down here and make an impression on a piece of paper.
You just really need the outline is what you're looking for.
Yeah, there we go. And now I'm going to cut this out. And you're going to get right up there, maybe leave a teeny, like a 1/2 millimeter margin around your design. And that's something that once you do it, you get a feel for it, how tight you like it. And you're just going to go in and cut that out. And this is going to be your mask. Okay, we have one here, all done, right?
Yay!
Now you can see it's been used more than once. So, and because this set comes with facing peacock bodies, and actually all the pieces.
Fabulous idea, by the way.
Super cool. But you can use this for the one that is left facing. Or right facing, and the one that is left facing. So you only need to do it once. So we are going to now put this on here, and I want to say a note about this. This is a thirsty surface like we talked about, so this ink dries really quick, lickety-split. If you were on a sealed surface, you would need to be mindful of dry time and maybe give your ink a minute or two to dry before you do the next impression. So we tend to really like, when the project allows for it, to stamp onto unsealed mineral paint, because it's a nice, easy, dries quickly, you can move right along. So we're going to go ahead and set that down, and we're going to do a second impression using, which stamp comes next? This, I think this one, right?
Yes.
And we're going to go in right here.
I say yes,
right?
but I have no idea.
Yeah, I think so.
If you think so, then yes.
Okay. And we're going to check our mask alignment so that it's covering the design the way we want to. Get in there. Get nice. And then we're going to position it. I like right about here.
There's something so satisfying about masking, and it takes you a little longer when you're laying out your design, but honestly, it makes all the difference.
It does.
It's absolutely worth the time.
So what's cool is, like in this case, this whole upper portion is not going to be showing. I can position it such that that is out of the stamped area. It's being protected by the mask, because this is what works better for this space. Now imagine how different it looks if you are not masking and that is overlapping it. It's
it muddies
noise.
the design. Yeah, exactly. It's noise.
So now
That's a good way to put it.
we've created this mask here, and we're going to set it right over there and just start layering your masks up. And what's fun about this part is that you're kind of covering it as you go, and so that at the end you
have a
take
big
it off,
reveal.
and it's fun.
You just swoosh it all away, which you guys will see.
So then,
that is the funnest part.
Let's see, referencing my spot. Okay, let's go right here with this one, and kind of fill in some of this spot.
With the pretty peacock feathers. We have a lot of different feather designs in this set so that you don't have the obvious repeats, because if you look at good design, it's laid out really nicely where you have a lot of different details, and when you see it, your eyes don't automatically see a repeat. That's really important when you're laying out your design. So use the different feathers.
Yes. And then let's put this big one right in here.
I like it, I like it.
Oh,
that's okay. You're fine.
You're fine.
Keep going. Keep going. I think it's fine.
I think it will be fine.
Yeah.
Totes.
Yeah. See, this
then,
part shifted a little bit, but the stamp didn't.
Yes. And then let's put a little one of these fun ones right there.
Yes. I love peacocks. They're so pretty. I feel like peacocks might be the new mermaid or unicorn for 2020.
I like them
think?
even more than...
I do too.
They're so pretty.
Maybe that's why I'm trying to get that started.
Oh yeah. And they're so classic. All throughout history in design, peacocks have been, I mean, they're the master. Yeah. Boom. And just make a little more there. Awesome. Now,
So
you know what? I'm
pretty.
going to do a little more there too. What's cool is you can just kind of just balance the space how you want it to be.
Yeah, step
You're
back
not
every once in
limited.
a while and
Yeah.
just take it in. And it's nice because even though you have the papers layered up, you still see, you get a general idea of where
Yes.
your pattern is.
Exactly.
Very
So
cool.
we're going to move to the one we've already finished, but I do want to do the kind of, it's fun to take the masks off.
Yeah.
And if you were finishing this board out, you would have all the masks all over it.
done.
So let's just kind of go like that. And so then you can see how it's, it harmonizes. There's nothing overlapping
clean.
and creating noise. It's clean, it's intentional. Masking allows you to do that and to create new forms
Yeah.
that are completely, you know, the sky's the limit. However you want to make them.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I also wanted to make sure we got in there. Also, if you're working with color, it's very important to mask because as you layer color up, it will get really muddy and yucky. So that's another reason to use masking.
It can, yeah. Okay, so we've got our design all laid out, and as you can see, and you just really get in here and notice how beautiful the design is because we've used masking in order to really harmonize the individual impressions and so that they don't overlap each other, and you get this look of cohesiveness and not chaos. So we've got this all laid out. Once we got it stamped, we let it dry thoroughly, and then we put a coat of a flat polyurethane on it. We use the General Finishes Flat 450. We put a coat on that and then we let it dry thoroughly. So we're starting with a dry sealed surface.
Awesome.
Yes, we're gonna dig into some fun techniques here.
Here's where it gets fun, guys.
It does. We are using our Artisan inks, coming soon, in the primary colors so that we can mix any color we want.
Any color.
Any color.
See all the little pots?
Shake well, as with
Fill
all
in
mediums,
color.
because you have carrier and you have pigment in all your mediums, and you need to always make sure they're combined. So we're good. We are going to create a deep Indian blue, and that's what we're going to do in this negative space. A note about negative space. We tend to think of the positives as the things that we want to focus on, you know, the peacock, the rose. But in art, you don't want to neglect the potential for your negative space to add depth and character and texture and just so much to the finished piece.
It's one of the elements that really draw you in to a piece. And
so we're gonna start with this beautiful deep blue and add a little bit of yellow to shift it, and start with this and get our color mixed. And I'm going to add more, and I'm going to just adjust it until it is what I want.
And notice how she continues to kind of put it into a different pot. That's because when it's all puddled, you really can't see what color it is.
I'm thinking just 2 more drops of the yellow.
So she's using the center of her palette as kind of a little testing
area.
area.
And you could get a piece of plastic.
That's really pretty. I like that. Don't go too much farther with the yellow. Me likey.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, sweet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a wet on wet technique. Kind of a flooding type technique, okay? We're going to get some water and we're going to wet into that space. There's a little ink on this and that's okay. But we are going to get some water in there, and we're only going to do this in the negative space. So we're going to get water into these spaces, get it right in there. And just go in with your water, and then we're going to take our brush and get some ink on it and just start laying some ink in there, moving some around with your brush, but really letting it move, let the water move
like
some of it too.
Organic movement, yeah.
And
that's pretty.
You're not trying to fill it solid. You're allowing the water and just the shapes of the negative spaces to kind of just enjoy putting color here and there, okay? Leaving some less coverage than others. Getting up to these areas but not overlapping into your positives.
It's okay to have a little space between the design and the backspace.
Yeah. Now what's fun is there's water on there and it's kind of puddled in spots. I'm just going to move this.
Create some drippies.
Create some movement and some drip.
Some texture, it adds texture. And
yes.
Interest,
exactly. And if it flows into a space where you didn't intend it, like onto one of your flowers or something, it's okay. You can either leave that and go with it and see what kind of fabulous interest it adds.
Or blot it out.
Or blot it out.
I think the point is when you're doing this part to just kind of let yourself go a little bit and feel that freedom to play and explore, kind of like when you were little and you were watercoloring. You didn't have the end result was not the purpose, you were playing. So that's what you want to do here, is just enjoy it and play.
Yes. Let's add a little bit of yellow there to go in and just add a teeny bit in there.
Oh, I like that.
And what we have here that's kind of cool is we have the paint brush texture in there that adds.
And that's something that you get with the mineral based and chalk type paints, is because it's thicker, you get those beautiful brush strokes in there. And that really comes out as you're painting the piece and glazing the piece. It really pops.
Yes. Let's now let that kind of set up and add a little bit of of red into this.
Okay. Some reds and pinks.
Yes. This is a really cool red. Almost fuchsia, but you shift it. You can shift it if you want to
a
with
warmer.
a little bit of yellow to a tomatoey red if you like. Do you want to work in there, and I'll put a little here?
Sounds good. I'm going to keep mine fuchsia so we have a little contrast between.
Oh, that sounds good. And I am just laying in strokes without it worrying about it being perfect. Just really getting in there and allowing some, add a little yellow in the center.
And sometimes you get puddling, and it's fun to kind of learn how to use the puddling. Like you can see here, I'm just letting that stay. I'm not going to blend it out because it creates just some beautiful natural shading.
Yes. The edges of the, we should have gotten 2 palettes out, huh? The edges of the water, the little puddles or pools, create lines that are interesting. Just want to make some green there.
Very nice, very nice.
Okay, so here's a fun little technique. With our artisan inks, they come with a dropper, as you've seen. A fun thing to do is to use them like a dip pen. Now, a dip pen is a type of metal tip pen used by dipping it into a well of ink, and you can draw it across your surface, and you get line width variation and fun, like, kind of blobby little techniques that you can do with it. Well, that's kind of what I'm going to do here. And I'm just going to use the red, and I'm going to go in here with it, and you don't really need to add much, if any, pressure on that, because you can kind of just use it. See how I can get some thick and some thin lines here? And the fun, and you can tilt it. More upright's going to let more out of angle is going to let less out. And you can see here in that area that was wet, you got a little bleed into that, and how fun that's
pretty.
And yeah, and you're looking for, you know, that line width and textural change between the thin. Yeah, the scribblies.
That's how I would explain it.
We like adding the scribblies.
Just scribblies.
Okay.
I like that. Oh, look how pretty that is.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah, it really adds a lot.
So, you want to, like I said, don't add pressure. Just do it very, very gently so that you're not, for one, wasting your ink unnecessarily.
Let me try it. I've never done this before.
Don't squeeze the bulb.
Don't squeeze. Just use. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, that was a little bit much. That's fun.
So when that happens, do this. Just go right back through it.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, I like that.
Yeah, exactly. Have fun with it. And now, are you squeezing some out?
Maybe.
I said don't squeeze.
A little.
Use the angle of it.
I know.
Use the angle. No, it's good that we're going to use the angle to let gravity just.
Okay.
Then you're going to get.
It's not working fast enough.
So here, hold it by this.
All right. I probably need to.
The movement.
Put more in it.
There we go.
There we go.
A little tiny pressure. So that's a fun technique that we use there.
I like the way it bleeds into the water.
Too.
That's really pretty. I like it.
Gorgeous. You get that contrast of depth from the really soft to the more intense. So isn't that fun. Another super simple technique that we like to use sometimes to add fun texture.
Misters are the best. Keep them on hand.
Depending on how you do it, if you do it from up high and just let droplets fall down into it, you can get textural, like speckly effects. But you can also kind of blow it out, which is awesome too, just depending on what you're looking for.
What do you mean by blow it out?
So like if you go in kind of close here, that's going to go.
Right. It's what you're saying. Okay.
So let's do one from above. And this is pretty fine, actually. Pretty fine mist.
No, it's hitting it.
Okay. Okay, so you're seeing a little action there. Let's go up here. There we go. That's pretty set. Now let's blow it out. See how that just moves?
Now I think one of the questions that people are going to ask is how long, you just mentioned that this is pretty set. How long do you have with these IOD Artisan inks where they're not set yet? So
that all depends on the surface you're working on, the
Okay.
conditions, how much water you've got. So like up here, in the areas where we had puddled a lot of water, that's going to take a while because there's a lot of water on it.
Yes.
So it's, and it depends on the surface you're on. So this is just something you got to get a feel for.
Okay. I'm just having fun. I don't want to stop. Ah! Brat. Ooh, that's pretty.
Isn't it?
I like that. Ooh, yes. Ooh, I like it.
Okay, so this is a super fun technique.
It's my favorite.
Our artisan inks. We are going to use one of it's a leaf from our frond set, and it particularly has a really nice fine veining.
Beautiful, intricate veining.
Yes, so we're going to use it for this technique. And
this technique is actually one of my favorite techniques. It's a Batik technique, B-A-T-I-K, and I absolutely love it. I want to actually do an entire furniture piece. Looking forward to that. And of course, if we do that, we will show you and bring you guys along. Yeah. And so I'm just dripping some of the inks onto the plate here in a random pattern, and we chose the color of the background because we want the design to kind of blend in with the background, not to stand out or contrast.
So this is just kind of like you've created a little flat palette to dip your stamp in and get it loaded.
Yes, and it doesn't have to be covered solid, just enough to just create kind of a fun little texture on the background. And this will work fine on wet or dry. It's just going to be maybe pick up a little bit different. So I'm just going to kind of lay it down softly and see how that splattered a little. I like that. And then gently. And because it's watery, that's what gives it that beautiful batik feel.
Isn't that beautiful? So you'll notice how different it is stamping with our artisan inks than our Decor inks. Our Decor inks,
different.
You get that sharp, defined detail. It's totally different for this. This effect is giving you that batik watercolory look when you use it to stamp with. And see how some of that's blown out because it was on the wet on wet?
Now this is all dry, and so we're not going to get that same effect. And now we're on third impression after dipping. So it's going to be a little bit lighter and just add just a little bit of that detail there. Okay, and then I might put a little bit more right over here, like so. And that's it.
Yep, it's just a beautiful,
a super fun
artistic
technique to play with and just get in there and get messy.
Oh yeah. Okay guys, so we want to just kind of go in here and show you the finished product as far as all the techniques that we showed you that we used. You can see that dip pen technique we talked about, using the dropper to get your scribblies. We really use it a lot in this piece, and you can see I actually went in and did some framework. We took and really got crazy in the peacock's tail here, used it in some of the negative space.
And then you can see the batik technique. Ooh, kind of
Batik technique.
Batik technique in the background here too, and we actually, or I should say she actually, used even more of it in there, and I just absolutely love the way that came out.
It does. It adds,
well.
whenever you do something that's just a hint of it, it adds a layer of kind of mystery. Like you can see, your brain registers what's going on there, even if you're not aware of it in the forefront, and it hints to those leafy textures and the forest ground back in there, and adds just so much visual interest.
We really encourage you guys to get in there and play and have fun. And one of the really awesome things about the IOD stamps and the scale and designs are they're created so that it's a starting point for you to then go in and just mess around and play and have fun and just see what kind of different finishes that you get.
Yeah. Give yourself that permission to have fun without worrying about the result, because our creative journeys are just that. They're a journey. You start somewhere and you keep moving forward, and don't forget to celebrate that wonderful beginning of whatever the creative things that you're getting into.
That's right. Okay, you guys, we had an awesome time showing you some different techniques to use with the IOD stamps. And as usual, if you want to get a hold of IOD products, go to our store locator to find a stockist near you or online. The link will be down below. Okay, you guys, go make something beautiful.
We like to educate everybody about stamps. So lame. Okay. Where that came from, I don't know.
We like to educate everybody about stamps. It's what we do. It's how we roll.
I don't know. I'm not remembering about it right now.
Me neither. I'm not remembering. Okay.